You woke up today not with energy but with emptiness, not with hope but with heaviness. Sometimes the weight isn't from the world outside, it's from within. And in that sacred ache, God meets you. This is not the end of your faith. It's the invitation to real faith, the kind that clings when nothing feels clear. When giving up feels easier than continuing, remember, your story isn't ending, it's turning the page. Sometimes what looks like collapse is the prelude to sacred transformation. Psalm 23 doesn't say you need to sprint through the valley, it simply says, walk. Even when you're too tired to believe, God still walks with you. He doesn't wait at the finish line. He holds your hand in the fog. You may have whispered in the dark, God, I feel so tired of waiting. That is not weakness, it is sacred honesty. The shepherd never left, and he is guiding you with gentle authority into a breakthrough, not built on effort, but on grace. You may feel stuck in delay, drowning in prayers that seem unanswered, but the presence of pain is not the absence of God. Jesus understands soul-deep weariness. He bled in the garden, not with strength, but with surrender. He didn't perform his way through pain. He trusted through it. This morning, God's message is not a command to strive, but an invitation to receive. If your heart feels heavy, your soul tired, your faith faint, breathe slowly, just breathe. The Spirit intercedes when your words run out. Romans 8 says your sighs are sacred. Your silence is not faithlessness, it's the sound of a soul too honest to fake it. Meditation is not about perfection, it's about presence. Let your mind unclench, let your shoulders drop, let your spirit just be. Divine power is not earned by the strong, it's received by the broken. And you, dear soul, are still worthy of healing, still held, still becoming. The anxiety you carry isn't proof of failure. It's proof that you've been holding on. Pope Leo XIV once said, even the soul that sinks in silence is still held by heaven's hand. Your silence does not scare God. Your numbness does not repel him. Even now, Jesus walks beside you, not behind, not ahead, with you. He who carried the cross will carry your soul. You don't need polished prayers, you just need to remain. This morning, speak no grand declarations. Just whisper, God, I surrender what I no longer have strength to carry. I place it in your hands. That's not weakness, it's holy bravery. Your surrender is not weakness, it's worship. In that surrender, divine power meets you. In your release, heaven responds. Your rest is worship. Your stillness is not failure. It is faith in slow motion. Psalm 91 promises that under his wings you will find refuge, not because you fight, but because you rest. Rest doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing God to do what you cannot. Your weariness will not last forever. But while it lingers, so does his grace. And grace is always enough. What part of my soul have I silenced out of disappointment? Where is God inviting me to simply remain instead of striving? How might my weariness be a doorway to deeper surrender? He gives strength to the faint and power to the weak. Even when I walk in darkness, you are with me. The Spirit prays when I have no words. If this prayer spoke into your weariness, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else who's tired of trying. Let them know God's message today isn't do more, it's come rest. You're not quitting, you're finally being carried. There comes a moment, quiet, trembling, undeniable, when your strength reaches its limit. Not because you've failed, not because you're weak, but because you were never meant to carry this alone. When your prayers echo unanswered and your responsibilities press like invisible weights, the collapse you feel is not your undoing. It's the beginning of something sacred. God's message to your soul this morning isn't push harder, try more, be better. It's this, I've got you now. Psalm 91 does not say he rewards those who never grow tired. It says he becomes your shelter, your fortress, your refuge. Even Jesus in Gethsemane didn't face the burden with performance. He cried, he fell, he sweat drops of blood. And yet, in that collapse, he was not forsaken, and neither are you. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that collapse is sacred space. It's not a detour. It's where healing begins. You don't need to explain the breaking. You need to let it be holy. This is not the end of faith. It's the invitation to real faith, where divine power meets the human soul. Undone, you are not disqualified because your hope flickers. You are not too broken to be met by God. In fact, your collapse may be the container for heaven's outpouring. Divine strength isn't attracted to perfection. It is drawn to surrender. The Spirit doesn't wait until you're strong again to come near. He draws close in your silence, in your sighs, in the cracks of what you cannot fix. Meditation this morning isn't about numbing the pain. It's about meeting God in it, in the raw places, in the ache, in the dust. This isn't a performance, it's presence. And the presence of God will never fail you. Pope Leo XIV said, "Faith is not proved by how loudly we sing, but by how quietly we trust when everything seems still." Your stillness is not failure. Your surrender is not weakness. Your honesty is the open door to mercy. Whisper this, "Lord, I am collapsed, but I am not condemned. I fall into your arms. I let go of what I cannot carry. I receive what only you can give." Psalm 23 doesn't offer a roadmap out of the valley. It offers a companion through it. God is not waiting on the other side of your breakthrough. He is walking with you in the middle of your brokenness. This valley is not a grave. It's your growing place. And when you fall, it's not into shame, it's into grace. The power of God does not meet the version of you you wish you were. It meets the real you, here and now. This is your holy beginning, not your end. You are not finished. You are being rebuilt, not with your strength, but with His. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. Collapse isn't failure, it's surrender. And in surrender, power flows, not from self, but from the source. Where have I mistaken collapse for failure instead of invitation? What part of my burden am I still trying to carry without God? What would it mean to let collapse be holy instead of shameful? Under His wings, I will find refuge. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. His strength is perfected in weakness. If you're feeling overwhelmed, comment with the words "still standing," even if it's barely. Even if you're on your knees. Let the world know collapse isn't the end. It's where divine strength begins. The valley doesn't mean you're forgotten. It means you're being formed. Not in the comfort of the mountaintop, but in the quiet middle, where faith is stripped of pretense and planted in truth. This morning may feel heavy, filled with silence, shadow, or sorrow, but those are not signs of absence. They are signs of intimacy. God walks closest when things feel darkest. You may feel trapped in silence, surrounded by unanswered prayers and shadowed by fear, but that is where grace draws near. Psalm 23 doesn't say you'll avoid the valley. It promises you will not face it alone, and that changes everything. God doesn't call you to sprint through the darkness. He simply calls you to walk, step by step, breath by breath. He doesn't require you to feel full of faith. He only asks that you keep moving, however slowly. Spiritual dryness isn't the death of faith, it's the proving ground of trust. The valley reveals not our weakness, but God's presence in our weakness. You're not stuck because God forgot you. You're still here because God is holding you. You don't have to run, you don't have to climb, you don't even have to be brave. You just have to keep walking, and in each small step, you are building a testimony. That valley you hate may be the very ground where your roots deepen, your trust is tested, and divine power shows itself not as rescue from the pain, but resilience within it. Pope Leo XIV said, "It is in the long shadows where grace walks closest to the soul." Maybe that's why the valley feels so long, because God is not rushing you through. He is walking with you in it, matching your pace, not your performance. Meditation in the valley doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means making room to hear the whisper that says, "I'm still with you." Let your meditation this morning be a place of honesty, not perfection. Don't try to escape the valley in your thoughts. Invite God into it. Let Him whisper what your emotions can't explain. I am here. I have not let go. I am the God who finishes what He starts. Jesus didn't skip the valley. He walked through betrayal, abandonment, and the silence of Saturday. And on the other side, resurrection. Your resurrection may not come in the way you expect, but it will come. Because God's message today is this: I finish what I start. I carry you through, not just out. Jesus Himself endured the long silence of the tomb, not because God abandoned Him, but because glory was being prepared in the unseen. Your Saturday silence may feel like the end, but resurrection always begins where everything seems still. You are still walking, not because you're strong, but because you're carried. Not because you have it figured out, but because grace refuses to leave you. Psalm 23 says, He restores your soul, not replaces it. That means everything worn, weary, and wounded in you is not thrown away, it's renewed. The valley isn't the end of your story. It's the chapter where the author writes something eternal. Faith not built on sight, but on presence. Power not proven by escape, but by endurance. Can I believe that God is still working even when I don't see progress? What truth from Psalm 23 do I need to carry into this valley? How might this valley prepare me for what's next? Though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil. He restores my soul. All things work together for good to those who love Him. If you're walking through a valley, type "I'm still walking" in the comments. Let others know the valley isn't the end of your story, just the place where God walks even closer. There's a quiet shame that creeps in when you're too tired to pray, too weary to rejoice, too overwhelmed to keep pretending. The world rewards hustle, but heaven honors honesty. And this morning, God speaks into your fatigue with a sacred truth. Your exhaustion is not a sin. It's not failure, it's not disobedience, it's not rebellion. It's a holy signal, a sacred ache that says, I can't carry this much longer. And God doesn't condemn you for it, He meets you in it. Galatians 6:9 reminds us not to grow weary in doing good. But that doesn't mean weariness never comes. It means even in the weariness, God is still working. Even Jesus became tired. He sat at the well. He wept in the garden. He slept through the storm. He didn't hide His need. He honored it, and God replenished Him. You too are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be human. You are allowed to need help. And today, help is here. This morning prayer is not about pushing harder. It's about pausing longer. Meditation is the place where you stop performing and start receiving. It's where your soul breathes again. Lisa Bevere reminds us that exhaustion doesn't mean faithlessness. It often means we've been trying to survive on yesterday's strength, but God is here now, with new mercy, new grace, and arms wide enough to carry everything you've been holding alone. You don't have to earn His rest. You only need to admit you need it. Psalm 91 says, you're not just protected, you're covered under His wings, wrapped in holy rest, shielded from the pressure to prove anything. And Pope Leo XIV wrote, Heaven stoops lower to meet the soul too tired to climb. That's where you are today. And that's exactly where grace meets you. Stop shaming yourself for being empty. God doesn't fill the full. He fills the open. You don't need to explain your fatigue. You don't need to hide it. Let it speak. Let it be the altar where God pours out what you no longer have the strength to reach for. This exhaustion is not a sign that you've come to the end of your worth. It's the sign that you are ready to be poured into. You are not loved less because you are low. You are loved more tenderly because of it. Today, receive the covering, not after you recover, but as you are, worn, quiet, surrendered. This is not weakness. This is worship without words, and it is holy. You are not running out. You are about to be replenished. Have I confused spiritual exhaustion with spiritual failure? What would it look like to let God love me as I am in this tired place? Where do I most need to be covered under His wings today? Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Under His wings, I find refuge. He gives strength to the weary. Write the word covered in the comments if you're claiming refuge in God's love today. Someone else will see your word and remember they're not alone in their exhaustion either. Piece of advice. Just as I combined time, honor, and courage, I combined time and honor this morning. Before we ask for strength for ourselves, we pause in holy reverence for those whose suffering speaks louder than any words we could offer, for the ones whose nights are not just sleepless but shattered, whose days are torn by forces beyond their control, whose hearts carry burdens too heavy to name. Across nations, across languages, across unseen battle lines, there are souls crying out, and God hears every single one. This is not about politics, it is about people, about pain that needs no translation. The child without shelter, the mother searching through rubble, the father begging for peace, and to each of them we say, "You are not forgotten." Psalm 91 says, God covers, protects, and shields, not just us, but all who cry out. Jesus, who wept over a city once torn by violence, still weeps with the broken today. The same Spirit who intercedes for the world also intercedes for you. In your bedroom, your kitchen, your car, your soul. You are not alone in your numbness. This valley, this one, is holy ground, because God is in it, and where He is, hope still lives. Let our stillness become intercession. Let every inhale carry a name. Let every exhale become a plea. May meditation turn to mercy. May weariness turn to compassion. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "The truest worship is the sigh that escapes the soul when it weeps for another." This is that sigh. This is our worship. Lord, cover the innocent, embrace the refugee, shelter the widow, heal the wounded, bind up the brokenhearted, stop the violence we cannot reach, and extend mercy we cannot comprehend. Let peace descend where hatred has stolen light. Send angels to the weary, hold the grieving, the searching, the scared. Let this morning prayer stretch beyond personal comfort and become a cry for the healing of the world. Let our breath carry their names in silence. Let our heartbreak become holy ground where your divine power moves. And for you, for the one who also wakes up broken and bewildered, know this: your pain is not too small to matter. Your grief is not selfish. Your sorrow is not too insignificant to bring to the altar. The Spirit prays when we have no words. Romans 8 promises that even our groans are heard. Whether your heartbreak is for the world or for your own unseen wounds, you are seen, you are held, you are not forgotten. This is the prayer of the intercessor. The broken, the exhausted, the compassionate. And this is the heart of morning worship. One that beats not only for self, but for the world God so loves. And where God walks, hope is never lost. Who in the world weighs on my heart today, and how can I pray for them? How does interceding for others also open space for my own healing? Can I believe God's mercy is big enough for both global sorrow and personal pain? He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. The Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. You shall not be afraid, for He will cover you. Pause and whisper this prayer aloud. Lord, have mercy on all who suffer. Bring peace where pain reigns. Let your healing be our hope. Then type Amen in the comments to join this morning prayer for the world. There is a hollow ache that settles in when the heavens feel quiet, when prayers poured out with trembling hope seem to dissolve into silence. You've knelt, you've cried, you've fasted, you've surrendered again and again, and still the healing hasn't come. The relationship is still fractured, the door stays shut, the breakthrough is still a whisper away, and in that silence, doubt creeps in. Is God even listening? Am I being punished? Is this all for nothing? But God's message today is this: silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. Psalm 91 says He will deliver you, but not always instantly, and not always around the fire. Often, it's through it. That's because what God is doing in you matters as much as what you're asking Him to do for you. Jesus knows what unanswered prayer feels like. He asked for the cup to pass in Gethsemane. It didn't, not because He wasn't heard, but because a deeper redemption was being written. And so it may be with you. Pope Leo XIV once reflected, God sometimes holds back the miracle so that we may receive more than we asked. Transformation, not just relief. That means this waiting season is not wasted, it's forming you. Morning prayer is not a shortcut to answers, it's a sanctuary in the not yet. It's where you sit, open-hearted, even if heartbroken, and say, I still trust you. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that when words fail, presence becomes the prayer. You sitting here, weary but willing, quiet but reaching, that is intercession. That is worship. God's power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it moves like water under dry soil, slowly softening hardened places, preparing roots to grow deeper. You may not see the change, but you are being sustained. You are being shaped. So stop measuring your worth by the speed of the answer. Don't count the silence as distance. Psalm 145 says He is near to all who call, even if your call is just a breath. Even if it's just sitting in stillness hoping He hears. And He does. He still hears. He still holds. He is still writing your story with divine timing. This delay is not divine disinterest. It is mercy unfolding in a way you do not yet understand. God says, my silence is sacred. My timing is perfect. My answer will come when it is most holy for you. Hold on not to the outcome, but to the one who hasn't moved an inch from your side. What have I been begging God to change, and how can I surrender that timing? Have I confused God's silence with His absence? How might He be working beneath the surface where I cannot see? He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. The Lord is near to all who call on Him. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. If you're waiting on an answer, type "still trusting" in the comments. Let this morning prayer wrap your heart in peace while heaven writes the next chapter you cannot yet see. There is a kind of silence that doesn't scream, it just lingers. A morning when you wake up and don't feel anything, good or bad. When prayer feels hollow, not rebellious. When worship feels quiet, not absent. This numbness, this fog, it's not failure, it's not distance from God. It's a sacred survival, a whisper that says, I'm still here. And in that whisper, Jesus is closer than you realize. He's not waiting on the other side of your breakthrough with arms crossed. He's sitting beside you now, in the dull ache, in the breathless prayers, in the moments that feel too still to matter. Psalm 23 doesn't ask you to manufacture restoration. It simply says, He restores your soul. That's His job. Yours is just to remain. Numbness is not rebellion, it's often protection. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us it's how your heart conserves energy after bleeding too long, and the Spirit doesn't withdraw when emotions dim. Romans 8 says the Spirit prays for you without words. Even when your lips are silent, your soul is still speaking, and heaven listens. T.D. Jakes once said that when you can't feel God, it might be because you're inside His presence, not outside of it. Like water, like breath. You're surrounded, immersed, held. Pope Leo XIV wrote, numbness is the soul's silent fast, where it stops tasting to start trusting. That's you this morning, trusting in quiet, resting in what you can't feel but still believe is true. Let meditation meet you right where you are. No pretending, no pressure, just presence. You don't need to stir up a song or fight for a feeling. Jesus is not waiting on your fire. He brings his light into your fog. He anoints your head with oil even when your eyes don't lift. He sets the table not after you rise in praise, but while you sit in silence. This isn't performance, it's presence, and stillness may be your greatest act of faith today. You don't have to explain your numbness. You don't have to justify it. You are not less spiritual because you feel less. You are still loved, still carried, still seen. God says, even when you feel nothing, I am everything, and I am with you. What would it look like to stop shaming myself for not feeling God? Can I believe that numbness is not distance, but a different kind of nearness? What small moment today could become a space for stillness with Jesus? He restores my soul. The Spirit helps our weakness. Be still and know that I am God. If you're feeling numb, type "still held" in the comments. Let this morning prayer gently remind your heart, Jesus is not waiting on the edge of your breakthrough. He is sitting with you in the middle of the fog. Some mornings feel like emptiness in slow motion. You whisper God, and it feels like no one answers. Worship plays, but your heart is silent. Scripture opens, but the words don't touch. And in that quiet void, the lie creeps in, that if you can't feel God, you've failed him. But here is the truth. Faith is not about what you feel, it's about who you follow, even in silence. You are not far, you are being drawn in deeper. Psalm 91 says, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge." But it never promises you will feel those feathers every time. His shadow isn't always visible, but it is always real. Morning prayer isn't a spark for performance, it's a sacred whisper. Here I am, and that whisper echoes in heaven louder than any perfect praise. Lisa Bevere teaches that divine silence often comes right before a shift, that your ache for God is not a flaw, it's proof of love. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "God hides not to disappear, but to draw us closer through longing." If your longing is loud today, it means God is near. Jesus himself cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" He knows the ache of feeling alone. But even in that moment, redemption was unfolding. You are not being punished. You are being purified. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. Meditation isn't where you find God with your feelings. It's where you trust him in spite of them. Even when your thoughts wander, your presence here is holy. Your consistency is your worship. You showed up, and heaven sees that. Let today be the day you stop measuring your faith by fire and start measuring it by faithfulness. The shepherd doesn't need you to feel him. He needs you to keep walking, to keep sitting, to keep breathing, because that stillness, the kind that shows up anyway, is sacred. Your numbness doesn't cancel his nearness. Your quiet doesn't silence his love. God says, "I am still with you." Even in this, the path may not be clear. The sky may still feel silent, but underneath the stillness, resurrection is always moving. What would it mean for me to continue praying, even when I don't feel God? How might God be teaching me to trust beyond emotions? Can I accept that his presence isn't proven by my senses, but by his word? He will cover you with his feathers. Even if I make my bed in darkness, you are there. We walk by faith, not by sight. If you can't feel God but still showed up to pray, type "Here I am" in the comments. Let the act of showing up become your worship, and know that heaven honors it more than you can imagine. There is a holiness in the hush of pain, a sacred depth in the place where language ends and sighs begin. When you wake and the words just won't come, when your lips tremble but no sentences form, God is not disappointed, he is present. Romans 8 says the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. That's not poetic, that's reality. Your sighs are not wasted. Your tears are not unnoticed. Every groan is prayer. Every breath a signal. I'm still here, God, and heaven leans closer, not further. You don't need to perform this morning. You don't need to explain your pain. You just need to be. The Spirit doesn't stand at a distance waiting for eloquence. He dwells within, translating your ache into heaven's language. Psalm 56 says God gathers your tears. Psalm 34 promises He hears every cry, even the ones you never speak aloud. This is not silence, it's sacred surrender. This is not weakness, it's worship without words. Pope Leo XIII once said, "When the soul falls silent, the Spirit begins to speak." And Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that trauma may steal your voice, but it never steals your access to God. Let meditation guide you not to noise but to nearness. Sit in the stillness. Don't force anything. Let your honesty be the altar. In this quiet, the Spirit groans for you, not around your pain, but through it. Morning prayer isn't a speech, it's a surrender. Stillness isn't passivity, it's the posture of a soul still trusting when strength is gone. This moment, this sigh, this tear, it's heard, it's held, and it's holy. You don't need to climb to reach God. He descends to where you are. His message is simple. You are not failing. You are not alone. I hear what your soul cannot say, and I will respond, not in thunder but in tenderness. You are surrounded by eternal advocacy, and that is enough. Have I given myself permission to stop forcing words and let the Spirit pray for me? What physical or emotional groans have I been holding back? Can I trust that God is most present even when I feel most mute? The Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. The Lord hears the cries of the righteous. The clack, 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 clack. If you're out of words but still open to God, comment, "Spirit, help me," below. That humble prayer will rise like incense, and the Spirit will meet you right where you are. Silence can feel like a door that will not open, like a question left unanswered, a prayer left unread. You pour your heart out, and in return, nothing. No sign, no shift, just stillness. And that stillness can feel like absence. But what if the quiet is not empty, but sacred? What if it's not God's retreat, but His way of holding you closer than words ever could? Psalm 91 says He is your secret place, and secret places are never loud. They are hidden, holy, protective. You are not being ignored. You are being cradled in divine quiet. This morning, let your silence be the sanctuary. Pope Leo XIV once said, "Heaven's hush is not a withdrawal. It is the holy weight of presence." The hush you fear may be the nearness you need. You may not feel movement, but that doesn't mean God is still. It means He is working in dimensions unseen, weaving grace into places you can't yet perceive. Meditation is not about hearing something new. It's about trusting what is always true. You are not alone. Jesus hung in silence too. On the cross, He felt the Father's hush, not because love had left, but because love was accomplishing something deeper than comfort. It was completing redemption. That silence wasn't absence, it was purpose, and so it may be with you. Lisa Bevere teaches that silence invites us into the maturity of trust, not trust in what God does, but trust in who He is. You don't need to chase a feeling this morning. You don't need to strain for a sign. You just need to breathe. You just need to stay. The shepherd knows how to hold even the quietest sheep. Stillness is not failure, it's faith without a crutch, and that faith will not be wasted. Good message today is gentle and unwavering. Even when you don't hear me, I am here. Even when you don't see me, I am covering you. Even when you feel nothing, I am everything. You are still held. Let this silence be your sanctuary. Let it build an anchor that storms cannot shake. How have I misinterpreted silence as distance from God? Can I allow God to hold me even when He isn't speaking? What does it mean to find security in his presence, not his performance? He who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Be still and know that I am God. I will never leave you nor forsake you. If you're learning to rest in the silence, comments still held below. Let this be your witness today. I may not hear him, but I know he holds me. In a world that idolizes strength, appearance, and control, weakness can feel like failure. But in the kingdom of God, weakness is not a flaw to be hidden. It's the doorway to grace. This morning, God's invitation is not to climb higher or perform better, but to come closer, to come with empty hands, tired limbs, and a trembling heart, because that is where heaven meets earth. Not at the peak of your strength, but at the depth of your surrender. Pope Leo XIV once said, "Holy weakness is the womb of miracles, because only empty hands can receive heaven's fullness." You don't have to fake joy, force peace, or prove your faith. You simply have to come honestly. Psalm 23 never demands you to stand tall. It invites you to lie down, to rest, to receive. He restores. He prepares the table. He anoints your head, and he does it not after you win, but while you're still walking through the valley. Jesus never avoided weakness. He embraced it. He cried. He touched the broken. He stumbled under the cross. He embodied the kind of strength that doesn't crush, but carries. And that same Jesus is near you now, not asking you to rise above your pain, but offering to meet you in it. This prayer is not about performance. It's not about getting it all right. It's about allowing grace to hold what you can. Lisa Bevere says, "There's glory in the gap between what we can do and what we can't." That's where God moves. Meditation quiets the noise of striving, so your soul can hear what's been true all along. You are not failing. You are falling into the arms of a faithful God. So breathe. Let go. Be still. Weakness isn't the end of the road. It's the place where the river of God's strength begins to flow. Pope Leo XIV reminds us, weakness embraced becomes the womb of divine glory. That's not a poetic phrase, it's your reality today. God says, "My grace meets you here. My power rises in your lowest moments." You don't have to climb into healing, you only have to lean into me. What would it look like to honor my weakness as a space God can fill? How have I confused spiritual strength with emotional control? Can I trust that miracles begin at the end of myself? My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9 KJV. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. The Lord is the strength of my life. Psalm 27:1. If you are leaning into holy weakness today, type "Grace meets me here" in the comments. Let it be a confession of trust. Even in your emptiness, heaven is preparing to pour out fullness. There's a lie that pain whispers in the silence. This doesn't matter. This won't lead anywhere. This was for nothing. But God dismantles that lie with every breath of His word. This morning, His message is simple and sacred. Not one moment of your pain has been wasted. Not one tear. Not one sleepless night. Not one ache buried beneath your smile. Psalm 56 tells us that God collects your tears in a bottle. That means your pain is not lost. It's held. It's honored. It's seen. And in His timing, it will be redeemed. Morning prayer isn't about rushing toward relief. It's about making space for redemption. Psalm 23 doesn't promise a pain-free path. It promises a table prepared in the presence of your enemies. That includes sorrow. That includes confusion. That includes the very pain you wish you could forget. God doesn't wait until the storm passes to meet you. He sits with you in it. The meal is ready now. Pope Leo XII once wrote, "God often serves glory on a plate of sorrow." It sounds paradoxical, but it's holy truth. Suffering doesn't disqualify your story, it deepens it. It becomes the soil where empathy grows, where ministry is born, where scars become open doors for others to find healing. La cate sera faimant. Lisa Bevere teaches that your scars don't diminish your testimony. They are your testimony. You survived. You're still here. That matters. That declares something powerful in the spiritual realm. Pain didn't get the final word. Let today's meditation slow your breath long enough to bring your grief back to God, not to be erased, but to be offered. Divine power doesn't erase suffering, it transforms it. What you thought would destroy you is now becoming the foundation of something sacred. Jesus doesn't avoid your wounds, he bears his own. And he walks into your pain, not to critique it, but to carry it, and he stays. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that God does not waste what he can redeem, and God can redeem everything. Without disappointing, Pope Leo XIV reminds us, so take heart, even the part of your story you've tried to bury is being resurrected, not with shame, but with glory. And says, none of this is wasted. I am weaving what hurts you into something holy. The testimony is being written, and it will comfort others the way I've comforted you. What pain in my life have I assumed was pointless? And can I ask God to redeem it? How might my wounds become a source of healing for someone else? Can I believe that nothing I've suffered has gone unseen by heaven? Thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears into thy bottle. Psalm 56:8. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Psalm 23:5. If you believe God can turn your pain into purpose, type "it won't be wasted" in the comments. Let that confession become a seed of hope, not just for you, but for someone else still in the dark. There are mornings when your soul doesn't want to rise with the sun. When you open your eyes, not with energy, but with ache. Not with clarity, but with cloudiness. This is not failure. This is a holy moment in disguise. Because when your spirit is weary, you are not less faithful. You are simply being invited to rest deeper in grace. Morning meditation is not a performance. It's not about achieving some level of spiritual perfection. It is simply your soul returning home. Not rushing. Not speaking. Just being. God's message today is this: I don't need your strength. I want your stillness. Psalm 23 says he makes us lie down, not because he's frustrated, but because he knows what we need before we do. Sometimes rest is not a luxury, it's obedience, it's surrender, it's a form of worship. When your prayers feel tired, when your faith feels faint, that's not a reason to quit, it's a reason to sit. Pope Leo XIV once said, when the soul no longer has energy for speech, let her sit quietly with her Father. You don't need to impress God, you just need to be present. Let today's meditation be a sacred pause. Feel your shoulders drop, feel your heart unclench. Let your breath return to its rhythm. Jesus is here, not beyond your weariness, but within it. Lisa Bevere reminds us that true presence is not proven by emotion, it's proven by endurance. The fact that you've shown up this morning, even in weariness, even in silence, is proof of your love. You don't have to feel spiritual to be deeply connected. Psalm 91 doesn't say rush in and out of God's shadow. It says dwell. That means linger, settle. Let your soul build a home in his presence. Meditation is where the spiritually weary become spiritually real. Not polished, not passionate, just honest. Even Jesus withdrew to quiet places to pray, not because he was weak, but because he was wise. Your need for rest is not rebellion, it's reflection. It's a mirror of how deeply your soul still longs for God, even when it feels numb. Divine power is not always a lightning bolt. Sometimes it's a steady stream flowing quietly through the dry cracks of your being. Today, stop chasing the fire. Let the still water carry you. God says, lay it down, all of it. I'm not asking you to climb today. I'm asking you to dwell. How can I release the pressure to feel spiritual and simply sit with God? What would it look like to receive rest as a sacred part of my faith, not a sign of weakness? Where can I build a secret place in my day to dwell in God's peace? Maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23:2. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. If your soul is weary but willing to rest in God's presence today, comment, I choose to dwell. Let this be your quiet declaration, not to press forward, but to lay down and let God restore you. Burnout doesn't shout, it whispers, slowly, steadily. It shows up not in collapse, but in numbness. You stop feeling the highs. You survive the lows. You smile, but it no longer reaches your soul. And the scariest part, you still love God. You're just too tired to feel it. This morning, God's message is not a command, it's a shelter. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. That's not just a poetic promise, it's your spiritual refuge, your invitation to stop sprinting and start soaking in divine safety. Psalm 91 was not written for the strong. It was written for the surrendered, for the burned out, for the soul barely holding on. For you. You don't need to muster more motivation today. You need mercy. You don't need a new strategy. You need a shadow. A wide, holy, quiet place to fall apart and fall into God. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The shadow of the Almighty is widest over those who have no more strength to run into it." You don't have to run anymore. You've made it to the shelter. Just be here. That's enough. Let morning prayer be your restoration, not your responsibility. You don't need to impress God. You just need to dwell. Meditation isn't about saying the right thing. It's about letting God say what you've been too tired to hear. I still love you. I still choose you. I will restore you. Lisa Bevere teaches that burnout is not weakness. It's often the result of pouring out without pause. Today, pause. Not because you're quitting, but because you're wise enough to rest. Even Jesus needed solitude. Even Jesus withdrew. If he, the embodiment of strength, needed stillness, how much more do you? Psalm 91 is not a command to rise. It's an invitation to rest. You are not failing because you're fatigued. You are not faithless because you need to stop. You are being faithful by dwelling. God says, you don't have to prove you're okay. I am okay enough for both of us. I'll hold you now. Let the secret place be your starting place again, not with striving, but with sacred stillness. What signs of burnout have I been ignoring in my soul? Can I let Psalm 91 be my rest instead of my responsibility? Where do I most need to surrender my doing for just being today? Art non. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91:4. My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Exodus 33:14. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Isaiah 40:30-31. If you are burned out and choosing rest over striving, type I dwell in his shadow in the comments. Let this moment be the beginning of your rebuilding, under mercy, not pressure. Darkness doesn't always crash in with chaos. Sometimes it lingers with quiet questions. Will this season ever end? Will I ever feel joy again? Has God forgotten me here? But Psalm 23 doesn't shy away from the shadows. It walks right through them. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It doesn't say you have to run. It doesn't say you must escape. It simply says walk. This morning prayer is for the ones still walking, for the hearts that haven't quit, even when peace seems far away. And God's message is this: peace is not waiting on the other side. It's walking beside you now. The shepherd doesn't meet you after the darkness. He moves in it. Thou art with me. 4 words that change everything. This is where peace begins, not when the shadows vanish, but when the presence of God makes the valley holy. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The valley may be dark, but peace walks beside those who dare to keep moving." That's you. Your movement matters, even if it's slow, even if it's tear-stained, even if it's only in your spirit. Lisa Beaver reminds us that not all darkness is absence. Sometimes it's covering, divine protection, divine incubation. Mary was overshadowed by the Spirit before the miracle grew inside her. Moses was overshadowed before the glory passed by. You too may be overshadowed, not hidden from God, but held by Him. Psalm 23 continues, "Thou preparest a table before me, my cup runneth over." Even in the middle of the darkness, God does not ration peace. He overflows it. Meditation this morning is not about chasing light. It's about recognizing the quiet glow of God's nearness, that soft, sustaining peace that doesn't shout, but anchors. Jesus is not pacing at a distance. He's sitting beside you. He is the light that stays, even when you don't feel it. Divine power doesn't only raise the dead, it sits with the grieving. So if you find yourself in the shadows today, let this be your quiet truth. I may be surrounded by darkness, but I am not swallowed by it, because peace walks with me, because God is here. You are not waiting for light, you're learning to recognize the light within the valley. And that recognition is your worship. What have I assumed must end before I can feel peace again? How has God shown me presence even when my path has been shadowed? Can I begin to trust that the shepherd walks with me through this? Yea, though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Psalm 23:4. Thou preparest a table before me, my cup runneth over. Psalm 23:5. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. If you're walking through darkness but choosing peace anyway, type "peace walks with me" in the comments. Let this declaration echo in your soul. I am not alone, even here. There comes a sacred shift, not dramatic, not loud, just a flicker of willingness, a breath, a whisper. After the storm, after the tears, after the numbness, your soul doesn't need to roar back. It only needs to rise, not in triumph, but in trust, not by might, but by surrender. And God's message today is this: the ashes are not your grave, they are your garden. Psalm 91 doesn't promise a life without fire. It promises a God who covers you in it and delivers you through it. Because you love me, he says, I will lift you. Not because you're strong, not because you've done it right, but because even in ruin, your heart still turned toward him. And that is enough. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, God does not rebuild on perfect foundations, but on broken ones made willing. If your soul feels scattered, burned, hollowed out by grief or exhaustion, hear this truth. Your willingness to begin again, even now, is holy ground. Jesus rose in stillness, not in lightning, but in linen, not with applause, but in silence. That same Spirit lives in you. Resurrection isn't always a victory march. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed, saying yes again, breathing hope into your own silence. This morning prayer isn't asking you to be whole. It's asking you to be open. Lord, I give you what I have left. That sentence is enough to shake heaven. Meditation becomes your sacred place of exchange, where ashes make room for beauty. Not instantly, but inevitably. Lisa Bevere teaches that strength is not the absence of weakness, it is the decision to keep going while still broken. So don't despise your small beginning. Don't curse the smoldering ground. That smoke rising from your story? It's not shame. It's the incense of survival. God's love is not repelled by what burned down. It is drawn to what still breathes beneath it. He appoints beauty for ashes. He restores what you thought was lost. And the shepherd who walks with you in shadow now calls you to rise, not in power, but in presence. You are not forgotten in the fire. You are remembered in the rising. The flame has passed. The ground is holy. The Spirit is calling, rise with me. What ashes in my life is God asking me to rise from today? Can I accept a gentle resurrection, one that begins with stillness and trust? What do I need to leave behind to begin again? He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Psalm 91:11. Restoreth my soul, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness. Psalm 23:3. To appoint unto them that mourn, beauty for ashes. Isaiah 61:3. If you're choosing to rise today, even with trembling hands, type "I rise from the ashes" in the comments. Let this morning be the first light of something new, born not from strength, but from surrender. There comes a holy breaking point, not of faith, but of self-reliance, when strength runs dry, and every prayer feels more like a whisper than a roar. You don't need more willpower, you need to be carried. And this morning, that is exactly what God longs to do. Psalm 91 promises that he will command his angels concerning you, to keep you in all your ways. That means even in the moments when you fall apart, you do not fall alone. You are caught. God's message today is not hold on tighter, it's let go. I've got you. This isn't abandonment of responsibility. It's a return to dependency. And dependency on divine strength is not weakness. It is the doorway to restoration. Pope Leo V said it beautifully. The greatest miracle is not walking tall, but being carried when you can't stand. So if your soul feels limp this morning, you are not less faithful. You are just more held. Jesus never asked you to lift the weight alone. In fact, he said, "Come to me all who are weary, not to be fixed but to be carried." This is the God who leaves the 99 to place one trembling sheep on his shoulders and rejoice. You are that sheep. You are that beloved. Meditation today is no longer a place of striving. It is a holy cradle. Let your breath be uneven. Let your thoughts wander and return. Let your body lean into rest without guilt. You don't need to perform. You only need to receive. Lisa Bevere teaches that grace is not a ladder, it's a rescue rope. So stop climbing, start surrendering. Divine power doesn't arrive because you fought hard. It arrives because you fell low enough to be lifted. The shepherd isn't asking for more effort. He's offering his shoulders, the ones that carried the cross, the ones that now carry you. This isn't a metaphor. This is a miracle. You are not walking alone. You are not barely making it. You are being transported by love. And that's why you can stop now. Not give up, but give over. To the arms that never fail, to the hands that still bear scars, to the presence that doesn't measure you by energy, but by honesty. God says, "Let me carry you. You've carried enough. What am I still trying to carry that God is asking me to surrender? How would it feel to let myself be held instead of always holding everything? Where have I seen God carry me before? And can I trust him to do it again? Shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone." Psalm 91:12. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. Isaiah 46:4. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. If you're ready to be carried instead of collapsing alone, Type "Carry me, Lord" in the comments. Let this be your sacred yes to the arms that have never failed you. You don't have to climb. You only have to trust. There is a quiet courage in surrender, one that doesn't roar but breathes. A kind of holy bravery that whispers, "I can't carry this anymore, and I don't have to." In a world that glorifies endurance and celebrates hustle, letting go can feel like quitting. But in the kingdom of God, letting go is often the first act of resurrection. God's message today is not about giving up, it's about giving over. Psalm 23 tells us that the shepherd makes us lie down, not because we've failed, but because he knows when our souls need stillness more than striving. To let go is not to disappoint him, it is to agree with him that your worth was never in how long you could hold on, but in how willing you are to trust him. Pope Leo XIV said it this way: "Release is not retreat. It is reverence for God's sovereignty. When you open your hands, heaven opens its arms. When you stop forcing outcomes, you start receiving miracles." This morning prayer is your invitation to stop gripping and start resting. To say, "Lord, I trust you to take what I can't change, to carry what I can't control, to right what I cannot see." Jesus modeled this in Gethsemane. His letting go wasn't weakness, it was worship. "Not my will, but yours be done." In that moment, he surrendered not to loss, but to love's deepest work. And that same surrender is open to you today. Not to abandon what matters, but to stop shouldering it alone. Lisa Bevere teaches us, surrender is not the absence of power, it is the transfer of it. When you let go, God takes over. And where you drop the weight, peace picks it up. Meditation becomes a sacred transaction. Your exhaustion for his embrace, your control for his covering, your worry for his whisper. "I've got this. I've got you." This isn't quitting. This is returning to the shepherd who restores, to the shadow that shields, to the strength that doesn't break when you do. God says, "Let it fall. You are not what you carry. You are who I carry." What burden am I afraid to release because I believe it defines me? How might God be calling me to let go, not to fail, but to find freedom? Can I trust that surrender doesn't mean letting others down, but lifting myself into grace? "Maketh me to lie down. He restoreth my soul." Psalm 23:2-3. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. 1 Peter 5:7. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. If you're ready to let go, not in defeat, but in divine trust, comment, "I release it to God." Let this be the moment where surrender becomes your strength and not your shame. Despair is not always loud. Sometimes it enters quietly, through disorientation, through endless waiting, through days that feel directionless. You pray, and the sky stays silent. You move, and the road bends into fog. You want to trust, but your spirit feels suspended between what once was and what hasn't yet come. But here is God's message for you this morning. Despair may begin with disorientation, but divine direction begins with surrender. Psalm 23 doesn't say he explains every detail. It says he leadeth me. That's not a command for clarity. It's a promise of presence. You don't need to see the next 10 steps. You need to know who walks with you on the next one. Divine direction is never given to those who demand certainty. It's given to those who wait in surrender. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "Heaven's road is not lit by control, but by consecration. You will not walk out of this fog by force. You'll walk through it by faith. Not because the road suddenly clears, but because the shepherd never leaves." Meditation is not a GPS. It's where your panic stills long enough to hear the whisper, "This is the way. Walk in it." Jesus didn't call the disciples with certainty, he called them with himself. "Follow me." That invitation has not expired. It echoes now into your weary places, into your searching, into your questioning. This is the kind of trust that doesn't require evidence, it requires intimacy. You don't need to be fearless, you just need to move. Lisa Bevere teaches that courage often looks like trembling obedience. This morning prayer is your permission to stop trying to predict outcomes and start practicing presence. God is not testing you with silence. He's training your soul to walk by His voice. Psalm 91 declares that His faithfulness will be your shield, not your understanding, not your insight, His faithfulness. The fog may not lift today, but your fear can, because the one who leads you is not confused. It is not confused. God says, follow me, not the path, not the plan, just me, and that is enough. If people indifferent think that this is just speech, understand that it is will that is moving. I eat, I drink, I eat, I sleep. I smart, I read. I'm hungry, I'm not. What decision or direction am I trying to force instead of surrendering? Can I let go of needing clarity and lean into trust instead? How might God be speaking even in my confusion? Leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Psalm 23:3. Thou shalt hear a word behind thee saying, This is the way, walk ye in it. Isaiah 30:21. The Lord shall guide thee continually. Isaiah 58:11. If you're walking from confusion into trust today, type "Guide me, Lord" in the comments. Let it be your sacred agreement that even without all the answers, you are not alone on the path. You may not feel radiant, you may not feel ready, but that doesn't disqualify you. It confirms the very place where God's miracle is forming, in your cracks, in your confusion, in the silence between sighs. Today, heaven's message is not, be finished, but be becoming. Psalm 23 ends not in darkness, but in relentless mercy. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That means even today, when you feel like you're lagging behind, grace is still catching up to you, still gathering every piece that felt left behind. You are not late to your miracle. You are the miracle in motion. The process isn't proof of failure. It's the pathway of transformation. Divine power is not rushed. It is intentional, gentle, rooted, unfolding. You don't have to prove anything. You only have to stay in His hands. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The miracle is not always in what changed. It is in who endured long enough to be changed." And you have endured. Through the numbness, through prayers that echoed unanswered, through seasons that looked more like survival than sanctification. And still, you're here, whispering His name, listening for hope. That is holy, that is miraculous. Meditation this morning is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who's forming you. The potter has not stepped away from the clay. He's still shaping, still smoothing, still infusing your story with sacred purpose. Every moment you didn't give up became another layer of beauty in the miracle God is making of you. Lisa Bevere reminds us, God will use your whole story, even the parts you wish you could erase. Yes, even that moment, even that weakness, it's being redeemed. Psalm 91 promises He will be with you in trouble and deliver you, not just once, again and again, because the miracle isn't a single scene, it's the whole journey. God says, "You are my miracle in progress. I do not rush, I do not abandon, and I am not finished with you yet." Let that truth hold you today. You are still becoming, and heaven is smiling over your becoming. What unfinished part of my story have I wrongly believed disqualifies me from being a miracle? Can I begin to see my process, not just my outcome, as holy? What truth do I need to speak over myself today to remind my soul I'm still becoming? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. Psalm 91:15, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it. Philippians 1:6. If you're choosing to believe that you're still becoming, type, I am God's miracle in progress in the comments. Let it seal the journey we've walked today, one of collapse, presence, promise, and quiet resurrection. You're not done. You're just becoming.